The sound of metal scraping against concrete jolted me like a live wire. My stomach dropped as I turned, and there it was. My motorcycle, the only thing I had ever bought for myself, lay crushed against the driveway, the front wheel twisted, the paint shredded. Before we begin, drop a comment and tell us where are you from and from which city you're watching our videos. And after watching the whole video, don't forget to tell us what would you do in this situation. Be honest. Tell me in the comments below. We read every comment. Let's begin. Jake, my brother, stood there with that smug grin plastered on his face, the helmet dangling from his hand. "Relax, Leah," he said with a shrug. "It still runs." My chest burned, but before I could even respond, my dad chuckled from the porch. He leaned on the railing, beer in hand, shaking his head. He was just showing off. Don't act like it's the end of the world. Their laughter felt like knives. That bike wasn't just metal, it was freedom. I had worked doubles, skipped weekends, sacrificed everything just to pay for it. And now, lying broken on the ground, they treated it like it was some cheap toy. Jake nudged the bent wheel with his boot. "See? Not that bad." Dad smirked. "You've always been good at fixing things, Leah. This shouldn't be a problem." I bit down hard, swallowing the scream clawing at my throat. My silence burned. And then Ryan, my husband, stepped forward. His voice was calm, but it sliced through the night like steel. "Funny thing," he said, pulling out a stack of papers. "That bike? It doesn't even belong to this family anymore. Leah sold it yesterday." Jake's smirk cracked. Dad's chuckle stopped cold. Ryan held up the paperwork higher. "So tell me, who's going to explain to the buyer why their property is lying in pieces on your driveway?" The silence was so sharp I could hear my own heartbeat. For the first time ever, they didn't have a quick answer. And for the first time ever, I didn't feel small. The silence after Ryan's words was thick enough to choke on. Jake's smirk twitched at the corners, struggling to survive. But even he couldn't hide the way his jaw clenched. My father leaned heavier against the porch railing, suddenly quieter, though I could see his mind scrambling for the next excuse. Jake was the first to break. "Paperwork?" he scoffed, trying to wave it off. "Come on, man. You're acting like this is some courtroom. It's just a bike. It's not like I meant to wreck it." Ryan didn't even blink. He didn't raise his voice. Didn't need to. "The buyer wired the money yesterday. That motorcycle doesn't belong to us anymore. When you crashed it, you didn't just damage a piece of Leah's hard work. You destroyed someone else's property. That's not a family issue. That's liability." The word hit like a hammer. Liability. Jake's eyes darted to mine, searching for backup, like I'd step in and soften the blow, like I always did. But I didn't move. For once, I let him feel the full weight of what he'd done. Dad finally grumbled, shaking his head. "You two are overreacting. Don't twist this into something bigger than it is. Leah should be grateful anyone even wanted that bike in the first place. It's not like it was worth much." That one stung deeper than I wanted to admit. My throat tightened, but I forced myself to speak. My voice came out shaky at first, then stronger. "Not worth much. Do you have any idea how long I worked for that? Every shift I took, every weekend I gave up. It all went into that bike. It was mine. My freedom. And you stood there laughing while Jake treated it like a toy." Dad rolled his eyes. "Don't get dramatic. You can fix it. You always fix things." I felt my chest heave with the weight of all the years he'd dismissed me. My words spilled out like floodwater. "Do you know why I always fixed things? Because no one else did. Because you let Jake break whatever he wanted, and I was the one stuck picking up the pieces. And now, after years of silence, I'm telling you, I'm done." Jake shifted uncomfortably, his voice cracking. "I said I was sorry, okay? What else do you want from me?" Ryan's tone cut through again, sharper now. You weren't sorry when you tossed the helmet like it was garbage. You weren't sorry when you smirked and said it still runs. You're only sorry now because you know this time you can't laugh it off. There are consequences. Jake's face flushed red. Consequences? You'd ruin me over a mistake? Your own brother-in-law? I stepped forward, my voice steady. No, Jake. You ruined yourself. I'm not covering for you anymore. I'm not swallowing the pain while you walk away laughing. You did this, and you're going to face it. His mouth opened, but no words came. He looked like a child caught stealing, not the confident man who always had Dad in his corner. Dad slammed the beer can down on the railing, foam spilling over. Leah, you better watch your tone. Don't you forget who raised you. Don't you forget this is family. My body shook, but I didn't back down. Family. The word left my lips like venom. Family is supposed to protect each other, respect each other, not laugh when one of us is humiliated, not excuse the other's destruction because he's the favorite. If this is what you call family, then maybe I don't want to be part of it anymore. The porch light flickered above us, and for once, Dad didn't have a quick answer. His mouth tightened, but his eyes faltered, darting to Ryan, then to the bike, then to Jake. Ryan stepped closer, placing the paperwork deliberately on the porch table. This isn't just about a bike. This is about years of Leah being treated like she doesn't matter. That ends now. The buyer will see the damage. Jake will take responsibility, or the insurance company will make sure he does. Either way, Leah doesn't carry this anymore. I felt my eyes sting, but not from sadness, from release. From finally hearing someone say out loud what I'd been choking on for years. Jake's voice shook now, desperate. You wouldn't do that. You'd ruin me. I cut him off. My voice was calm, sharp. You ruined yourself the moment you thought my work was expendable. You've been ruining yourself for years, Jake. I just won't stand in the way anymore. The way. Silence that followed was deafening. My father's shoulders sagged just slightly, and for the first time in my life, I saw him at a loss. Jake's cockiness had drained completely. I straightened my shoulders, feeling taller than I ever had in that house. My silence had been their weapon for years. But tonight, my voice was mine again, and this time I wasn't letting it go. The driveway was so quiet I could hear my own heartbeat thundering in my ears. The smell of burnt rubber and gasoline from the wrecked bike clung to the air, mixing with the bitter stench of Dad's beer. Jake paced, his hands buried in his pockets, his voice finally cracking. You're really gonna do this to me, Leah? You're gonna let him? He jerked his head toward Ryan. Drag me into legal trouble over a stupid bike? I crossed my arms, my voice sharp. It's not just a stupid bike. It was mine. It was the only thing I ever had that you or Dad couldn't control. And you wrecked it like it was a toy. Jake stopped pacing, his jaw tight. I didn't mean to. Ryan cut in, his tone calm but razor sharp. Intent doesn't matter, Jake. Actions do. The buyer doesn't care about your excuses. They only care about the damage. Dad slammed his can down on the porch, foam spraying. That's enough. You think you're tough now, Leah, because you've got Ryan backing you? Don't forget who fed you. Don't forget this roof over your head came from me. My chest burned, but I didn't flinch. Fed me? You mean the nights I went hungry because Jake ate the last of everything? Roof over my head? You mean the same roof where my voice was never heard? Where every laugh came at my expense? Dad's face hardened, but I kept going, my words tumbling out faster now, years of silence breaking loose. You've always chosen him, no matter what he did. He could crash my bike, empty my savings, steal the shirt off my back. You'd still laugh and pat him on the shoulder. And me? I was the shadow, the cleanup crew, the one who worked harder just to be called dramatic. Jake's face turned red. You think you're perfect, huh? Always playing the victim. I cut him off. My voice was low, steady, shaking with anger but controlled. No, Jake. I'm not perfect, but I'm not your victim anymore. The words landed heavy. Jake's mouth shut, his bravado slipping like sand through his fingers. Ryan stepped closer. To me, his presence solid at my side. This isn't just about money. This is about respect. And Leah deserves it, whether you two ever admit it or not. I swallowed hard, my voice softening but gaining strength. You've both made me feel like nothing my whole life, but tonight I finally realized something. I don't need your approval. I don't need your laughter or your validation. I have my own worth. And I won't let either of you take it from me anymore. The words left me trembling, but not with fear, with release. Dad shook his head, but there was no bite left in his voice. You'll regret this. Families that turn on each other don't come back from it. I held his stare, unflinching. Maybe that's the point. Maybe I don't want to come back from this. The silence that followed was suffocating. For once, I wasn't the one looking small. They were. Ryan finally picked up the paperwork again, sliding it back into his folder with deliberate precision. We'll let the buyer know. But one thing is clear. Leah's done being dismissed. And if that tears this so-called family apart, so be it. I took a deep breath, my chest rising and falling like I'd been carrying a mountain for years, and finally set it down. For the first time in my life, I felt free, and I wasn't going back. The air outside was sharp and cold, but the heat in my chest was hotter than any flame. My brother stood pale, my father stiff, but neither of them said a word. For once, silence was on my side. Jake finally cracked, his voice low, almost begging. Leah, you can't do this. You know what'll happen if the buyer finds out? They'll drag me into court. I'll be ruined. I didn't look away. You should have thought about that before you climbed on my bike without asking. Before you wrecked it. Before you laughed in my face. His eyes darted to Dad, searching for backup. But even Dad didn't jump to his defense this time. He just looked at me, his jaw tight, his pride stripped bare. I took a slow step forward, my voice steady. Do you know how many nights I went to work with blistered feet, hands raw, and no one cared? Do you know how many times I cried myself to sleep wondering if I'd ever be more than the family joke? That bike was proof I could do something. On my own, and you destroyed it. You both laughed like my effort meant nothing. But you don't get to laugh anymore. Jake swallowed hard. His voice shook. So what? You want me to pay? Is that it? Ryan answered before I could. His voice was calm but heavy with finality. Yes, you'll pay for the damage. You'll take responsibility, and if you don't, the insurance company and the buyer will make sure you do. That's how this works. Jake's mouth opened, but nothing came out. His shoulders sagged, the weight of accountability finally pressing on, him for the first time in his life. Dad broke the silence, his tone low but bitter. Leah, you're tearing this family apart. I laughed, a sound that surprised even me. It wasn't bitter, not hollow. It was sharp, cutting, and alive. No, Dad, you tore it apart years ago when you decided one child deserved everything and the other deserved nothing. I'm just not pretending anymore. His face twitched, but he didn't argue. Maybe for the first time, he knew he couldn't. Ryan slid the paperwork back into his folder and wrapped his arm around my shoulders. His presence grounded me, steady as stone. We're done here, he said firmly. The buyer will be here soon enough. They'll get the truth. Jake, you'll have a choice. Make this right now, or face it in front of people who won't care that you're the favored son. The driveway seemed to shrink around us, the porch light buzzing above like a spotlight. Jake looked small. Dad looked defeated, and for once, I didn't feel like the outsider in my own home. I drew in a deep breath and spoke the words I'd carried in my chest for years. I'm done cleaning up after you. I'm done being the quiet one, the invisible one. You wanted me to stay silent so you could keep laughing. But tonight, my silence ends. The weight of it settled on them like a stone. Dad shifted uncomfortably. Jake shoved his hands deeper into his pockets, and neither could meet my eyes. Ryan guided me toward the car. The gravel crunched under our feet, the sound of leaving, of breaking free. I didn't look back at first, but as I reached for the car, or I turned one last time, they were still standing there. Jake with his face pale, Dad staring at the ground. And for the first time, I wasn't begging for them to see me. I didn't need their approval anymore. I slid into the passenger seat, my voice quiet but firm as I spoke to Ryan. Do you think they'll ever change? He started the engine, his hand brushing mine, steady and warm. Maybe, but you don't need them to. You've already changed. The words sank into me deeper than I expected. He was right. For years I thought I needed them to see me, to hear me, to respect me. But I didn't. I had my own strength now. My own voice. As we pulled out of the driveway, the broken bike still lay crumpled on the ground. But it didn't feel like a loss anymore. It felt like a symbol of everything I had carried and everything I was finally leaving behind. The house grew smaller in the rearview mirror. My father's silence, Jake's fear, they stayed behind, buried in the place I once called home. For the first time in my life, I felt free, and I promised myself I would never, ever let them cage me in silence again.